Welcome to Podcast This Escape, the podcast where we talk about the escape room that we escaped from in the previous episode of this podcast. We have just escaped from Miranda's room. Thank you so much. That was great.
Thank you.
I had a great time doing this one. These were some very clever puzzles that were put in here. I think you very much hit the goal, or at least I always find it the goal. You made me feel really smart and, dumb at the same time, but really smart when I got things. So thank you.
Oh, good. Unless you're just saying that, in which case I will fake accept your fake compliment.
No, it's good. What I really liked, I thought they were very well set up with that thing that you need in an escape room, especially an audio one, which is like, this seems to match this. Let me do the quick check. Oh yeah, that's right. This has given me that information. It's like, wait a minute, we got 8 by 7. We got these things.
I felt
they
good
kind of
about that
remind me
moment.
of the.
That was a
the
good
thing.
start.
Let me check. Oh, there you go. There's a whole row of offs and there's a whole row of offs. These definitely match. Like they give you these patterns to get into it. You find the stains on the pants. You think, do these match that lock? And then you see green, blue, and you go, yep, that's it. I'm into it. I know that that's green. I know that ink is black. Like, I am set up. This is definitely it. Let me pay attention with the rest of it. Like, they all had those nice lead-in steps to what the solution would be without giving it away straight away, so which is like that exact right
you're
level.
right. It wasn't just like when we found those stains, it wasn't just, okay, great, now we found the colors, let's put in those colors. There were still more puzzle steps to it as well.
But like starting with grass.
So we got confirmed we were in the right place.
You get straight away, I get it. Grass stain, green stain, got it. Lovely,
That
like,
was
and the
very
language was set
cleverly
up well
done.
for that, It's like, they are tan pants, so the colors are quite prominent.
Oh, yeah, that...
Right, great.
How
That's
much
what I was hoping for.
That note that said how much money this is costing us, it's getting worse and worse. That was exactly the sort of puzzle that I would be terrified was too subtle and people would never get, and it worked.
And I will say, in the written version that we have, both how much money and worse are in giant
capitalized.
capital letters. So
It does
it's a little
stand
bit easier
out,
on a read than a listen. It is.
I was really impressed with that.
You are actually the only ones. None of my playtesters caught that part of the note.
Oh, man, it was fortunate. You also, in a couple of places, just a couple of them, you did some nice on-camera tiny nods when we said something that was right, and I very much appreciated that.
I'm not sure that was intentional, but I guess it worked.
Just happens. Look, it was really lovely. I really liked that. It also had that nice balance of, you could usually, like, part of what helped with with the alteration thing was the two facets of, like, matching the language. So we've been like, wait a minute, you've mentioned pocket, hip, seat, waist, hem, and I can see those exact words on the alteration chart. So like that worked really well for a lot of these puzzles of sticking those elements together. I mean, I remember the wording from one matches the wording from another, which was great. And also, like, I don't know, the arrowing that you would do made sense, because it's like, what haven't we used yet? How can these fit back into each other? Like, it was easy to check when you were trying to do a puzzle, like, what elements you should be considering based on what you've used, what you found, when you found it. Like, the sequencing of that all came together really well. So it made it easy to get through and know what we were doing. It never felt like I was going, well, I guess I'll do these two
even
things
those
together.
bits where we were stuck at the end, you could see that. We went, okay, what haven't we used yet? It's these things. Unless there is something we missed, and as you got very well, where is it likely that we have missed something? Mm-hmm. And so you could go straight back to that. It was clearly ordered
really
in
nice
a very
follow
followable way.
So yeah, I loved it. I had a lot of fun.
You did a fantastic job putting this together.
Oh, thank you. I felt like coming into this that I was about to give like a beginning guitar recital to like Jimi Hendrix. And I'd just be like up there playing hot cross buns while you just kind of clapped politely. But I mean, if it was genuinely fun, then I'll take it.
Yeah,
yes,
it was great.
100%.
Is there a reason? Like, what was the inspiration?
Oh yeah,
I'm
Tell
assuming
us about your
working
process.
retail. But what was the?
I will say just very clearly, this is not based on any specific well-known U.S. men's retailing chain, specifically one that employed me from 2015 to 2019. But if it had been, I think that I just working out my retail trauma, and this seemed like a good creative way to channel that.
What did the bow ties do to you?
Actually, nothing. Bow ties were like underappreciated. People love to hate on them. That is one thing I learned, and they did nothing. They did nothing wrong. I will say the first thing that, like, I'll say it was revealed to me in a dream, but that's probably inaccurate. The pant stain puzzle is what came to me first.
Oh, nice.
I just started to think like, oh, if I ever wanted to do one of these, it would definitely, like, I was interested in all of the different like equipment you use for tailoring, and like I thought that could be very interesting, especially for this, because you can't have an industrial press in a physical escape room. I mean, if you can't get players to not try to put keys in like electrical sockets, you can absolutely not trust them with a press. I mean, they're not that hard to use, but they get very hot. So the stains thing is like a very real thing that happens. I do want to say shout out to every tailor in the world who's ever been given a pair of pants that were soiled like on the seat.
Lovely.
Yep, this is a thing that happens.
God,
So,
no.
Yep, you're the real heroes.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool. Like, you can just you have experience in an area, so you can visualize the different objects that are important to that area and know how a puzzle can work with them. That's really nice because, yeah, I could never have done this room myself because this is just knowledge and experience that I have never had. That's really great.
I could have done so many more places too, but I was like, I have got to pare this down. Like, there were just too many. And I wanted to like keep tweaking and editing it, but I had to make myself stop after a point. So I feel like preserving it in this way is making me stop, because it's not like I don't have other rooms like in draft form now, and maybe like being forced to be done with this, I can go back to working on those.
Oh yeah.
So you mentioned that the pants puzzle was like the first thing that made you think, oh, that's the initial puzzle. Got the idea.
The seed puzzle.
Yes. Did you have in this room like a puzzle that you are most proud of?
Yeah,
Is there one that you like the most in this room?
So that was the one I liked the most first, but then as I've been getting feedback from other people that they like the schedule and the electrical switches more, I've grown to like that one more.
I did enjoy that.
Everyone spent about 45 minutes on that, so when you figured it out so quickly, I was just like, oh no, this is going to take half an hour. What do we do?
But you forgot
it didn't.
how bad we are at taking shoes off a rack.
I did feel good about that one, and that was one where I thought, oh man, if this were a real escape room, and this were one where 95% of the people doing it are beginners, they would get so stuck there. I felt happy. There was that one. I loved how all of the people, or at least asterisk, all of the people had animal names, and it didn't occur to me until we had animal pictures to look at.
That was definitely the most fun to research, and that one went through a couple changes. So, fun fact, a male crab can be called a Jimmy. I think this is hilarious, and I wanted to include it in there, but it was like too obscure, so I ended up replacing it with Joey, because like everybody knows that. Now, the one you had wrong, it's like right but wrong. So an Angeline is a female Wolverine, which I think is funny. My first playtester lives somewhere where they don't have Wolverines, so he was like, is that like a wolf? I was like, oh no. But I had to make sure
that's like us. We don't have
Wolverines.
Wolverines.
Oh no, I looked them up. I thought you did have them. Oh no.
Do we?
I tried to do my due diligence.
Not in familiarity. All I know is there have been funny things like Hugh Jackman didn't know what a Wolverine was when he took on the role, things like that. So he thought it was completely
Wolverines
different.
in Canberra?
Really? Oh my god.
I did look
Oh, no,
up.
wait. Are you sure that's not a sports team or something? That's capitalized.
Well, they did.
Oh,
It'd
that
be weird to
one's
say
not.
Canberra's Wolverines threaten our connection to the region.
Oh, wild. Cool. And I also remember there was one other show listening to where they described a threatening creature as like a Wolverine. And then listeners found that quite funny because Wolverines are tiny.
Yeah.
They are, but they're vicious.
We have I feel like Wolverines are very similar to Tasmanian devils. Like, I feel like they've got
Yeah, I mean,
that
they're
flavor to
totally
them.
similar.
Just like a
So
fierce
that's what I
critter.
picture. When I picture a Wolverine, I picture a Tasmanian
But yeah,
devil.
how interesting. We may or may not have them, but I was not aware of it. Wild. But then,
But it
that
ended
said,
up-
I didn't know we had deer until very recently, and I'm still not convinced that that's real.
True.
Oh.
Same with
That's-
foxes until I saw one in the wild once.
True. And so what's a molly in that case?
Was that a
Oh,
turkey?
Is a molly a turkey?
Female cat can be a molly. So a male
Oh.
cat can be a tom, but a male turkey can be a tom too.
Oh, okay.
Oh, like Tom Turkey.
Fascinating.
And then I was like, I don't know if I should make this more clear cut. And then I remembered it doesn't actually
It doesn't
matter.
matter.
for
Yeah,
the
as long as
puzzle.
you
that's
have
fair.
kid.
So, that technically does require outside knowledge. There is like an alternate secret puzzle that if you hadn't gotten, I would have like presented to you.
Oh, what would that be?
It was bad, so I'm really glad we didn't do it. The reason I felt okay leaving this outside knowledge one is because you are known trivia people, so like I felt like it would be okay.
I totally don't mind it.
Right,
fun.
but had you not, there would have been like a shoe box that had been returned somewhere up at the front, and you can read the barcode on it, which is a jumble of letters, which is a shift cipher. You use the shoe size to determine, and it just tells you what
Ooh.
locker to look in.
Oh,
fun.
that's fun.
So that's like a way to bypass it for people who, I mean, you should always like test to see if they're starting to get it. Definitely give
Yeah,
them
that's-
time to get it, but if they don't, then that's the option.
That's fair. I'm just so impressed that I looked at all of those names from the start, and it didn't occur to me, like not even as a fleeting thought, oh, that's some animal names. Not for a second until we saw animal pictures.
Yeah.
That was
I tried
something.
to pick names that were more regular. Some of them
Oh, yeah.
I could have used, but they're a little weird. That was definitely the most fun to research.
And the fact that most of our focus before then had been on who was it? Was it Molly, Jenny, one of the ones with a very regular name?
Yeah. Yeah, we were looking a lot at Angeline
was Jenny,
as well,
wasn't it?
And Jenny.
Oh yeah, and Angeline.
And yeah, Jenny Ree and
yeah,
Angeline.
Jenny is subtle enough that that's a toughie.
Yeah, Jenny's just a name.
Oh,
And Jenny's one of those ones where you don't expect people necessarily to know Jenny. Like, if you talk to a random
Fair.
person, you wouldn't expect
not
100% that they know that
definitely not
Jenny
their
is a
first thought.
donkey.
Like, if you meet someone called Jenny, you like no one's first thought is to say, "Ha, donkeys."
Yeah, you wouldn't be like, oh, I'm so sorry. How hard was it growing up where everyone called you a donkey? They'd be like, what do you mean?
Yeah, that'd be wild.
Whereas Joey, if we were fixated on Joey, we may have gone to,
Maybe.
"Ooh, like a Joey, like a little Joey.
Yeah.
And none of my playtesters got that either.
Well, I was going to ask, how did our playthrough vary compared to the playtests? And what's changed between playtests and what we ended up with?
Kind of a lot. So the first person who tested is going to hear this and be like, wow, completely different thing. I also did not read them the intro, or the conclusion. So it'll feel very different too. The like switches puzzle didn't really change, but the way I formatted it did, so it's a little easier to read. I did, like I mentioned, end up changing a few of the names. So they were like less obscure animal names. Trying to clue that you needed to dress the mannequin actually ended up being a thing. So I had like a variety of testers. Some people were like very familiar with the show. Others were like sort of familiar with the show and had done some escape rooms. And the third person, their only experience was like tabletop role playing and like point and click adventure games, like lots of Nancy Drew and other things. So
Nice.
She was very helpful because she was just like, I know you want me to dress the mannequin, but nothing here is motivating me to do it. So I'm not going to do it just out of spite. And she really helped me like tighten up the narrative within the puzzles, I think. And that was very helpful. So some of the changes were there. I did used to have the alteration list inside one of the fitting rooms, like the price list. But it makes more sense to have it. I wanted you to have to check the back of another door.
Well done for remembering that as many times as you did. We have, again, already this season, this is room 5. possibly multiple times been burned by it. No matter what, it just happens. So I'm glad that didn't happen this time.
They keep
you
adding
got
them into
both of
rooms
them.
for us, expecting us
Yeah,
to
multiple
know our own
times in
rules.
this one. Oh.
We don't know our own rules. We don't pay attention to our own show.
Yeah, I'm ashamed at how badly I have been doing. But this one is starting to make me feel some promise.
Good.
I also wondered that if you check behind one door, you'd be like, all right, we're safe, and not check behind the other door.
That's
But you
definitely me.
You did check behind both. So there you go. Oh, the pants used to be a visual puzzle. And then I realized that's terrible audio. It makes way more sense, and I can like add a few jokes in if I just describe them. Also, I used a presumably non-copyright free image of pants and just like scribbled on them in paint. And like the document was titled "Graphic Design is My Passion." It was hideous, so that will never see the light of day again.
But you know what? I think even more so than just being like a question of good or bad audio for a podcast to listen to, it's also like I think it's a better puzzle if you can't see it because it requires to that tiny like. There are certain puzzles you can give a person which are so nonsensically easy, but they still make your brain go, haha, I solved a puzzle, which is the idea of grass stain. Oh, that's green. I got it. Ink stain. Oh, you didn't get me. That's black, you know? And it's like, yeah, like that's so nothing. It's not a hard thing to think grass is green.
And
it's like the first thing you've ever read as a human being is that grass is green. But it's still like,
makes you
feel
good.
like you're doing something. You're like, oh, I got you. You can't trick me with your not saying the word green. I know that grass is green. And it feels like I'm solving a puzzle, even though I'm very much not. So I think it's like actually a more enjoyable process of solving when it's not a picture. Because it feels like I'm catching you out on a secret trick that is so not a trick. You know?
Just dopamine hit after dopamine hit.
Exactly.
Look, I had fun with it. It's
I had
like
a really
nice,
great
it's like
time.
It's a great little classic room. I really, it's a subtle thing. I really liked that feeling of you are in a tiny room. Now you have access to another room. Now you have access to another room. And like you could still put all of this stuff into one large room, but it's really nice to that feeling of being able to ramp into it and segment it that way is so.
And also the fact that the final
enjoyable.
one that we unlocked, it had some big stuff in it. Didn't have too many things in it.
No, it wasn't
So
like...
it didn't feel like an overwhelming jump.
Yes. Yeah, if you got in there that late and then it's like, all right, here are the 18 things in this room and another door
If
to
it had
another
been
room. You'd
swapped
just be like,
around, it would have been
come
much
on.
scarier.
Like this is too much. There's too many things. So it was a nice feeling.
Yeah.
It felt good to go through the room and to have that feeling of like segments. Like I've
whatever
done
your
that part, I've
process
done
was
this
for
part.
structuring this, it worked.
Yeah, it worked out really well.
Actually, well, yeah, I haven't really asked about that. So we sort of said how you came up with the idea and where you started. How did you like make this into an Escape This Podcast style room? How did that happen?
What was your process?
So I built them around the stained pants. I guess that's the foundation of like every good idea is a stained pair of pants. But I decided I should go back and like re-listen to your like how to make a room episode. The first one, because I'm a fake fan and have not gotten through all of the episodes, so I've not seen how to make a room.
Disgusting.
The sequel. But I started listening to your process and was like, okay, come up with objects. And then I realized like I already had all the objects and that it made more sense for me to write puzzles and then connect them. So I said, I'm not following this. Which is fine. If everybody wrote rooms the same way, there'd be a lot fewer of them.
Yeah, my thing is always, cool, this is what I do. I don't know, maybe that'll help someone. And if it helps you realize that totally doesn't work for you, great.
That's also helped. Danny can take credit for that too.
Exactly,
Good room,
it's all
Danny.
me.
This is a really fun room. You designed it so well.
I think it's a good idea, but I think it's just the way my brain works. I like tried to write down and connect squares, and I was like that meme that's like the lady with all the math symbols like in front of her. And I was like, I can't do this. Like I just have to picture a store that I definitely didn't work in and like what I would fill it with.
Yeah, nice. I'm so glad because, yeah, again, really worked. It went really nicely. I felt really happy going through that one.
Even with the shoes half off. That was where
Even
everyone
the
got
shoes
stuck.
half off.
It's so annoying, but I like really wanted to be a little bit annoying.
I'm so glad you did that. I don't know how long that would have taken me to think of.
You take off half the shoes.
Oh, man.
Here's a real question. Did we take off half of the pairs of shoes, or did we take off one shoe from each pair?
Oh, I should have asked, because I actually have it written down that either works.
As display shoes, I assume they weren't in pairs.
Oh, they were.
Individual shoes.
Which
Yeah,
actually, we at the store I didn't work at did only have one, and I forgot that until just now.
Man. Yeah, that I don't know, but that just wouldn't have worked for my brain for a very long time. I do feel foolish about it.
It's one of those just like annoying things. I wanted to do a very different kind of thinking than I had in the rest of them. One of the tests, we just like stared at each other like over the dreaded Zoom for like 45 minutes, just being like, shoes half off. And then they'd be like, shoes half off. And I'd be like, shoes half off, just back and forth.
What if I'd gone into the tailor's section, found like a big pair of fabric scissors and shears, and cut off half of the mast of every individual shoe and left them there?
As long as it was... Oh, if you left them there, then no. Half the weight has to be gone.
And then took them off.
As long as you got half the weight off, you
it
got
is hard
where
to
you
argue.
needed
What if
to
I
go.
left and went across to a helium store, a place that sold helium balloons, and I attached helium balloons to each shoe so that they were being lifted upwards?
Just a little bit.
Just with half of their weight up.
That's how weight works.
That is how weight works. What do you wait? Hold on a second. That is how weight works. If the shoe weighs like 500 grams, and I have 250 grams of...
Do you know how hard it is to get that right? Go stand on some scales.
I would fill the balloon,
try to
put the
figure
shoe
out
on a
what
scale.
half your weight is.
I would put the shoe on a scale, and
then-
then I would attach the balloon and start filling it and check every extra little bit until I see that it's lifting half the weight of a shoe. That is how shoe weight works. How dare
Honestly, if you were willing to put that much effort in, I would just have an NPC come in and like rip the shelves out so you could get to the safe, because I feel like that's enough effort.
Get a pity victory.
My question was, so what we did was we got stuck on shoes, searched around, found that last bulletin board note we hadn't looked at in a vain hope that would help us with the shoes.
And
then that allowed us to
helped us with
immediately
the
solve
next
the
step.
safe. Would that have been, do you reckon that's better or worse than if we had gotten the shoes immediately, revealed the safe, and then had to walk around going, what is up with this safe? And would you have felt better or worse if that's where we hadn't gotten stuck? Because we would have gotten stuck on the safe if we hadn't gotten stuck on the shoes.
Yeah, I think
I
I'm
think it
glad
worked
that
out
we
well.
did it the order that we did, but it's hard to say how upset we would have been.
True, right? But I think it worked out better. I think if it happened the other way around, it would have felt weirder.
It would have been nice and wholesome, though,
'Cause
to
at
have
least
to
with the
finish the
shoe
room and by going back and finding something that we missed as the first thing we looked at.
True, but at least with the shoe thing, it was like we still had something to go on. With the safe, it would have just been like, wait, what? There's a safe?
We
Where have
haven't
we
seen
seen directions? We haven't
anywhere.
seen directions anywhere. I go up, I go down. Do I push? I push them all. What are we talking about? I reckon we would have had far less direction. This, I think, worked out very well for us.
Maybe, yeah, you're quite possibly right. Ugh. I am what I am glad about. I think I'm glad that we didn't read that right at the start.
And been carrying around the whole time.
Exactly, because we could have had the key to success is never back down from the
From
start.
the very
I think
start.
that would have been so distracting
tried
and
to apply
so
it to
hard.
everything.
I would have had that gnawing away at me forever.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Did most people in the playtests find that one early?
Oh, so that's new. I forgot to mention. That's like the biggest change. I used to have this other list of rules that was equally ridiculous, but basically all it did was point you to dress the mannequin, and it was bypassed by everybody.
Wow.
You would go back later and then just read the list and be like, okay, those are the rules.
It is one of these interesting things, like, you have this idea of, like, people weren't dressing the mannequin, or there weren't enough hints to dress the mannequin, so you added in, like, a hint in the things that could imply that you need to dress the mannequin.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, the solution was just have a note that says, please dress this mannequin. And, like, that's great. Like,
I didn't feel
there's no
cheaped
part of
out
it
by that.
It's like, yeah, of course, if someone has a task for you, they'll tell you what you need to do. And, like, that note is so perfectly in, it's like, here's your task. Dress this mannequin. You don't need to hint it or make it esoteric or weird. You're just like, hey, do this, guys. Like, it was perfectly fine. Like, I wouldn't change that. I don't think that in no way feels like a oh, I think that had to happen because it's just like, yeah, that's how you do it. You want to dress a mannequin? You say, please dress this mannequin.
So what did they have to do for the safe? Was there still a safe?
Or was the safe?
There was. The Never Back Down was like, he had like decorations in his locker. He had these like super pathetic, like, he'd like printed them off from Instagram, and it was like those like motivational like stock photos that just like say crap on them, and it was just me like ragging on him for being like cringy and like having a midlife crisis. I was like, is this really driving the story further? Like, there are other ways to make fun of him. Let's have him be like openly like this in this form of a note.
Everybody else.
And I think that works better. I also didn't like how linear everything was with you finding that in the locker, because it's like, okay, then we move on to this. Like, my hope had been that you'd figured this note out like at the very beginning, because I've heard other rooms like on the show where like something they find at the beginning like ties into the end, and I'm like, that's so nice. But now that you mentioned that it would have been gnawing at you, that would have been like also very annoying for me if you'd like brought it up at every subsequent puzzle.
I would have. And I think you would have as well. Whenever we got stuck, you'd say, well, you know what the answer is.
Yeah,
we just don't back down.
We just don't back down. We just keep going.
That definitely would have happened.
You know, we can't give up on this puzzle. We need to never back down.
I'm also really impressed that that was the answer, and yet it did feel like I said, it felt like a really mean Easter egg of just, oh, this is his extra motivational rule? Screw you, Kit.
Oh, look, I had a lot of fun. It was great. I really enjoyed it. Do you have any other questions?
I think I've covered everything.
I
have finished. I think I am ready to switch my brain off with a satisfied sigh. After that, I feel good.
Well, do it.
Oh no.
Well, that was great. Thank you so much for bringing that to us. It was lovely. It was really great. And if you have another one in the future, we'd love to
100%
do another one. If you're listening and you're on the Discord and you want to like play this yourself, even though you've already played it, or get friends, like, or if you want to run it and you have questions, I'm sure you can find Miranda there and say, hey, tell me how to do this. I want to know. So you should do that. And if you want to be on the Discord anyway, you can come and talk with me and other people and hang out and chat about things and post spoilers for Solve This Murder and do all that. There's a link to that in the show notes below, so you should check that out.
I'm not there, but if you say anything to or about me, Bill will tell me.
Yeah, if you say something, I'll just be like, oh, Danny, someone said this thing. And then she'll respond and I'll type it out. And I don't know why she doesn't just have a Discord account, but you know.
It beeps at you a lot.
Just turn the beeps off. I've never once had it beep at me. I told it not to, and it was surprisingly obedient.
Whatever.
All right, lovely. Thank you so much. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we're on Twitter at EskThisPodcast. We're on Instagram as Escape This Podcast. The Discord is the easiest way to keep in touch with me and us. And it's the most low. It's so nice. It's so easy because there aren't other people there like there are on Twitter. You can also, if you want to help support the show and the stuff that we do, you can sign up for our Patreon. There's a lot of fun extra bonus stuff there. Anybody who signs up at any level from $1 up can appear as an NPC in one of the rooms that Danny designs.
I'm sure a lot of these names work for people.
Yeah, thank you to Patreon donors Angeline Evans, Tom Gaspard, Billy Lancaster. No, I'm sorry, none of these are real human beings.
Very convenient.
Regional manager.
Yeah, if you are a regional manager, this one's for you.
This one's for you. And we also have bonus episodes. We are this season, usually we put up the playtests for episodes. We don't have playtests this season. So instead we're doing our own version of like an extra retrospective podcast, This Escape, talking about the rooms from before we were doing podcast This Escape, some of the initial early ones, talking about them, saying what we would change, things like that. So you can go and listen to that if you're a $5 donor. We have a series of 2-minute mysteries where we read through a series of 2-minute mysteries written by Donald J. Sobel, and we try and solve them and talk about how we would write them and all that sort of fun, silly stuff. There's a new season, or new mystery for Solve This Murder, which is I'm probably almost done by now.
Yeah, I guess
gets released.
Ooh, it might be done by now.
But you should go and check that out. And also our Patreon donors had access to that from the beginning. They had the whole 6-episode arc available on day one.
So when the next one comes out, Patreon donors will be getting that full thing first.
Exactly. So those are all the fun, but there's badges and other fun stuff as well on the Patreon. So go and check it out if you want to support the show.
Sorry if your badge is taking a while to reach you. We are locked down.
Yeah, it's a pandemic. Gosh. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you again, Miranda, for running us through that
thank
room.
you
It was
so
great
much.
fun. Thank you,
Thank
Danny,
you.
for playing with me.
Thank you for pulling shoes off a shelf when I never would have.
Exactly. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.